Hey everybody, welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at A1 English.
Okay.
So this is really for all of you out there who are maybe just starting your English language journey.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be using this really cool guide that we found called Complete Guide for English Learning for A1 level learners.
Yes, a very useful resource.
And we're really excited to kind of dig into this with you all.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So first off, what does A1 even mean? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so A1, if you think about it like climbing a mountain,
Okay.
A1 is like setting up base camp.
Right.
You're just getting started. You're getting all your supplies together. You're getting ready for the climb.
Right.
So in the CEFR, which is like the big framework for language learning, A1 means you can understand and use very basic phrases to get around and talk to people.
So like if I were traveling
Yes.
and I wanted to order a coffee or ask for directions, that's A1 level.
A1 level, that's the goal to get you to that point where you can feel confident and you know you're not going to get lost and you can at least survive in an English-speaking place.
Right. That's good. So we're starting with the basics, the essentials here. And one thing that the guide really stresses is vocabulary.
Yes. Of course, you need words.
You got to have the word.
To speak a language.
So what kind of vocabulary are we talking about for A1?
So we're looking at everyday words.
Okay.
Things like greetings, how to ask questions, numbers, days of the week, colors. Yeah.
Very basic stuff.
So like real simple stuff that I can use right away.
Yes, exactly. Like one of the first examples they give is, hello, my name is, and then you say your name.
Okay, so I can walk into a shop and be like, hello, my name is so-and-so.
Exactly. And then you can say, where are you from?
Oh, that's cool.
Which is another very common question at the A1 level. So even with just those two little phrases, I can start like a whole conversation.
Exactly. You can start building that connection.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
That's amazing. Okay, and what about like objects in the world around us?
Yeah, so they also talk about the importance of knowing the names of objects at home, in the kitchen, on the street, the things you see every day.
Right.
And I think one of their examples is, I have a spoon and a fork.
Okay, so basic.
Very basic.
But you need it.
But essentially, like, can you imagine trying to eat without knowing the words for spoon and fork?
Yeah, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the words. Now, what about putting them together?
Right.
The guide mentions grammar.
Yes.
Is this going to get like really complicated and scary?
No, not at all. It's actually simpler than you think.
Okay.
So they start with this basic structure called subject plus verb plus object. It's like a formula.
A formula.
Yeah.
Like math.
Kind of like math, yeah, but for sentences. So for example, if you wanted to say, I eat pizza.
Yeah.
I is the subject, eat is the verb, and pizza is the object.
I see.
So you're basically saying who's doing the action, what the action is, and what's being acted upon.
Got it.
And then they introduce you to this thing called the simple present tense.
Okay.
Which is really useful for talking about things you do regularly or facts that are always true.
Okay.
Like I drink coffee every morning or the sun is hot. Very simple, straightforward sentences.
So I could use the simple present to talk about my hobbies or like my daily routine.
Exactly. It's all about those everyday actions and facts.
I like it. It's simple.
Yeah.
Now, I did notice that the guide spends a lot of time talking about the verb to be.
Yes. To be is a very important verb in English.
Okay. But why so special?
Well, it's a bit tricky because it changes form depending on who we're talking about.
Okay.
So we say, I am, you are, he shite is, we are, they are.
Oh, so it's like a shapeshifter?
Yes, exactly. It adapts to the subject of the sentence.
And why is that so important?
Well, because we use it all the time to describe ourselves and others.
Right.
To talk about how we feel, where we are, what we're doing.
So like if I said, I am happy.
Exactly.
Or they're students.
Perfect examples.
So it's like this linking word.
Yes, it connects the subject with more information.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I guess it's one of those verbs you really got to master if you want to get a good grasp of English.
Absolutely. It's foundational.
Okay, so to be is like the VIP of A1 verbs.
I like that, the VIP verb.
All right, so we've got some basic vocabulary. We've got a little grammar. This is a pretty good start.
It is a good foundation.
But the guide doesn't stop there. It actually talks a lot about using the language, like actually speaking.
Yeah.
And listening and reading and even writing.
Right. You got to put it into practice.
It's not just about like memorizing the rules.
Exactly. It's about actually using the language to communicate.
All right, so let's talk about practice then.
Okay.
Where do we begin?
Well, they start with speaking practice, which makes sense because that's often the most immediate goal for learners.
Right. I want to be able to talk to people.
Exactly.
So what kind of speaking practice are we talking about?
So they encourage learners to start with those basic greetings and introductions we talked about. You know, hello, how are you? What's your name?
Okay.
Where are you from? Things like that.
And I can practice these with a friend or family member?
Yeah. Or even just talk to yourself in the mirror.
Talk to myself in the mirror, huh?
Yeah. It might sound silly, but it works.
I can try. Okay, so does the guide give any examples of what these practice conversations might look like?
They do. They have a simple dialogue that demonstrates how to use these basic phrases to get a conversation going. Something like, hello, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How about you? I'm fine. What's your name? My name is Sarah. Nice to meet you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, very simple, but it shows you how to string those phrases together.
And A1 learners should be able to handle that kind of dialogue.
Absolutely. It's all within the A1 level.
Awesome.
And they also suggest talking about your daily routine as a good way to practice.
Oh.
Those simple present verbs we discussed.
So I can be like, I wake up at 7 a.m., I eat breakfast and go to work.
Exactly. And you can add more details as you learn more vocabulary.
Cool. So describing my day is like built-in practice.
Exactly.
That's great. And do they have any other tips for speaking practice?
One thing they emphasize is don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, they say mistakes are good.
Good. How can mistakes be good?
Because when you make a mistake, your brain is learning.
Ah, I see.
It's figuring out what works and what doesn't work in English.
It's like trial and error.
Exactly. And the more mistakes you make, the faster you'll learn to correct them.
So it's like falling off a bike.
Yes, exactly.
You got to fall a few times to learn how to ride.
Yeah, you got to get back up and keep trying.
Okay, so embrace the mistakes. Got it. What else does the guide say about practice?
Well, it doesn't just focus on speaking.
Oh.
It also reminds us that listening, reading, and writing are all important skills for A1 learners.
Right. We don't want to neglect those.
Exactly. They're all part of becoming a well-rounded communicator.
So what are the recommendations for listening practice?
They suggest starting with simple videos or cartoons designed for beginners.
Okay.
The language is clear and slow, and they often use visuals to help you understand.
Oh, that reminds me of when I was learning English. I used to watch cartoons all the time.
Yeah, that's a great way to start.
It was actually really helpful because these stories were engaging and the language wasn't too difficult.
Exactly, and it exposes you to the natural rhythm and intonation of the language.
Plus, those catchy songs help me remember some words and phrases.
That's another thing they recommend listening to music.
Music, yeah.
As a fun way to practice.
I love that idea. Music makes everything more enjoyable.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got listening covered. What about reading?
For reading, they recommend starting with children's books.
Okay, figure that.
Yeah, the language is simple and the stories are often visually engaging.
Right.
But they also encourage reading things you encounter in everyday life.
Like what?
Like labels on food packages, signs on the street, instructions for your new gadget.
Oh, wow. So just like paying attention to the world around me.
Exactly. It's like turning your daily life into a language learning opportunity.
I love that idea. It's like a game.
It is a game. Make it fun.
Okay. And what about writing? Any tips there?
They recommend starting simple, even just writing down basic sentences using the new words you've learned.
Okay.
Or keeping a short journal in English.
So I could write something like, today I went to the park. I saw a dog. It was a nice day.
Perfect. That's a great example.
Simple, but it gets the job done.
Exactly. The goal is to get comfortable using those words and grammar rules in writing.
Got it. So this guide is all about finding ways to make learning a natural part of your day.
Exactly.
Not just something you do for an hour in a classroom.
It's about integrating English into your life.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So they've given us some great tips for practicing our speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But is there anything else we should keep in mind as A1 learners?
Well, there are some common challenges that learners often face, but the good news is that almost every language learner has faced these same hurdles.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
Okay, so what are some of these common challenges and how do we deal with them?
One of the biggest ones is fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
It's so common to feel nervous or self-conscious when you're first starting to speak.
Totally. I remember when I first started speaking English, my heart would race and my palms would get sweaty.
It's a natural reaction, but here's the thing. Making mistakes is an essential part of learning.
Really?
Yes. It's how your brain figures out the rules of the language.
So the more I mess up, the faster I'll learn.
In a way, yes.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
So embrace those mistakes. They're actually helping you learn.
Got it. Mistakes are my friends. What else might trip us up?
Another challenge is feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of new information.
Yeah, there's so much to learn.
There is, but the key is to take it one step at a time.
Okay.
Don't try to learn everything at once.
Right.
Focus on those high-frequency words and phrases that you'll actually use in everyday conversations.
Okay, so break it down into smaller chunks.
Exactly.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Right.
That's good advice for life in general.
It is.
And speaking of breaking things down, another helpful strategy is to set realistic goals.
Yes.
It's easy to get carried away and think, I'm going to be fluent in 3 months.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
But that's not really realistic, is it?
Not usually, no.
So how do we set goals that are actually achievable?
Think about what you want to be able to do in English.
Okay.
Do you want to have a simple conversation with a neighbor, order food at a restaurant? Read a children's book to your niece or nephew.
Yeah.
Once you've identified a specific goal, break it down into smaller steps. Maybe start by learning 5 new words related to that goal each day, or practicing a few key phrases with a language partner.
I like that smaller, more manageable goals.
Exactly.
And when you achieve those, you can celebrate those little wins.
Yes, celebrating your progress is so important.
It keeps you motivated.
It does. And speaking of motivation, that's another challenge many language learners face.
Oh, yeah. That initial excitement can wear off pretty quickly.
It can.
But how do you keep that spark alive?
I think it all comes down to finding ways to make learning enjoyable.
Enjoyable.
Okay. Think about what excites you about learning English. Is it the dream of traveling to new places, connecting with people from different cultures,
Right.
understanding your favorite English songs or movies?
Okay.
Whatever lights your fire, tap into that.
So if I love music, I should be listening to English songs?
Yes.
And if I'm a movie buff, I should be watching English films, even with subtitles.
Exactly. The more you can connect your learning to your interests, the more likely you are to stick with it.
That makes sense.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey.
Right.
Connecting with other learners can be a huge motivator.
It's like having a support system.
It is find a language partner, join an online community, or even start a study group with friends who are also learning English.
Yeah, sharing the journey with others makes it more fun.
Definitely.
And helps you stay accountable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so fear of making mistakes, feeling overwhelmed, setting realistic goals, and staying motivated. Any other common challenges we should be prepared for?
Well, one that comes up a lot, especially at the A1 level, is pronunciation.
Oh, yeah.
English sounds can be tricky, particularly if your native language has a very different set of sounds.
I remember struggling with certain sounds when I first started learning English.
It's common.
There were some that just didn't exist in my native language, so it felt like I was twisting my tongue into knots.
I understand, but here's the thing. Don't let perfect pronunciation hold you back from speaking.
Oh, okay.
Remember, even native English speakers have different accents and ways of pronouncing words.
Right.
The goal is to be understood, not to sound like a textbook recording.
So it's okay if I have an accent.
Of course, as long as people can understand what you're saying, it's all good.
That's a relief.
Focus on communicating your message clearly and confidently.
Okay.
The finer points of pronunciation will come with time and practice.
I can work with that. And any tips for improving pronunciation?
One helpful tip is to pay attention to how native speakers move their mouths when they speak.
Oh, interesting.
Try to imitate those movements.
No.
It can actually help you produce those tricky sounds more accurately.
It's like watching a dance and then trying to copy the steps.
Exactly.
It might feel awkward at first, but eventually you get the hang of it.
You do. And don't be afraid to record yourself speaking and listen back.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It can help you identify areas where you need to focus your practice.
I'm always surprised by how different I sound in recordings.
It can be eye-opening.
It is. And another great way to improve pronunciation is to simply listen to a lot of English. So, more movies, more music, more podcasts.
Yes, immerse yourself in the sounds of the language.
Got to surround myself with English.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself to the rhythms and sounds of English, the more natural they will become to your ear.
And I guess it also helps you get used to different accents and speaking styles.
Absolutely. Remember, English is spoken all over the world, and there's a beautiful diversity of accents and dialects.
Right.
The more you listen, the more comfortable you'll become understanding and interacting with English speakers from all walks of life.
So don't be afraid to dive into that ocean of sound.
Exactly.
And explore all the different ways English is spoken.
Embrace the challenge. Have fun with it. And remember, every step you take, every mistake you make is bringing you closer to your goal of speaking English confidently.
I love that. So to recap the common challenges we might face as A1 learners are fear of making mistakes, feeling overwhelmed, setting realistic goals, staying motivated, and tackling pronunciation.
That's a great summary.
And these challenges are not roadblocks.
No, they're not.
They're simply part of the learning process.
Exactly.
And with the right mindset and strategies, we can overcome them.
You can?
This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a much better understanding of what to expect as I continue on my A1 journey.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, learning a language is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Enjoy the process, celebrate your progress, and never be afraid to ask for help along the way.
Okay, great advice. And I think that's a great place to maybe take a little break.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about A1 English and what it all means.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the challenges that come with being an A1 English learner. But now I want to focus on some of the things that we can do to actually be successful.
Strategies for success.
Yeah, give me some tips.
All right, well, one of the most important things is to set realistic goals.
Okay.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of learning a new language and set overly ambitious targets.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be fluent in like 3 months. I've definitely been there.
We've all been there, but the reality is it takes time.
It does.
And consistent effort to build language proficiency.
Right.
So instead of aiming for the impossible, focus on setting smaller, achievable goals that you can build on over time.
So like, instead of saying I'm going to be fluent in 3 months, I can say this week I'm going to learn 10 new words related to travel.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to practice ordering food in English at my favorite restaurant.
Perfect example.
Okay. I like that smaller, more manageable goal.
Exactly. And those small wins will not only boost your confidence, but also keep you motivated to keep going.
Motivation, that's key.
It is. And speaking of motivation, another key strategy is to create a learning environment that supports your goals.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Well, it could mean setting aside a specific time each day for studying.
Okay.
Finding a quiet space where you can focus without distractions, or even surrounding yourself with English language materials.
I like that, surrounding yourself with English.
Yeah, create an immersion experience.
So I could put up some flashcards with new words around my apartment.
Yes.
Listen to English podcasts while I'm commuting.
Exactly.
Even switch my phone's language settings to English.
Absolutely. All great ways to make English a more natural part of your daily life.
It's like planting seeds.
It is.
The more seeds you plant, the more likely you are to have a beautiful garden.
And in this case, the garden is your English skills blossoming.
I love that analogy.
It's just like a garden needs regular care and attention.
Yeah.
So does your language learning. That's why establishing a consistent study routine is so crucial.
Okay, so it's more about those consistent daily efforts.
Yes.
Rather than trying to cram everything in once a week.
Exactly. It's like going to the gym. A short workout every day is more effective than one long session once a week.
That's a good analogy.
The key is to make learning a habit, something you do regularly without even thinking about it.
So set a schedule, stick to it, and make English a part of my daily routine.
Make it a ritual.
Got it. Are there any other strategies that can help us supercharge our A1 learning?
Absolutely. One that's often overlooked is incorporating variety into your learning routine.
Okay.
Don't just stick to textbooks and grammar exercises.
Right.
Mix things up. Watch movies, listen to music, read articles, have conversations.
Yeah.
The more diverse your learning activities, the more engaged and motivated you'll stay.
It's like anything else in life. You got to keep it interesting.
Exactly. Keep it fresh. Keep it fun.
And remember, learning a language is all about communication.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and practice speaking as much as possible.
Yeah, that's the key.
So find a language partner, join a conversation group, or even just chat with friendly English speakers online.
All great options.
Basically, get out there and use those A1 skills in the real world.
Exactly. The more you use the language in authentic situations, the more confident you'll become.
And don't worry about making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, they're a natural part of the learning process. In fact, the more you're willing to experiment and try new things,
Yes.
the faster you'll learn.
It's like trying a new recipe.
Yeah.
You might not get it perfect the first time,
Right.
but with each attempt, you learn and improve.
I love that analogy. And finally, don't forget to celebrate your progress along the way.
Yes.
Acknowledge those milestones, big or small, and reward yourself for your hard work.
It's a journey, and it's one that's filled with challenges and triumphs.
So be patient with yourself, enjoy the process, and never lose sight of your goals. Remember, you have the power to unlock a whole new world of communication and connection
Absolutely.
through the gift of language. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that A1 momentum going strong.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we talked about some of those challenges that learners face.
Yeah.
But now I kind of want to think about, like, what are some of the strategies that A1 learners can use
Okay.
to make sure that they're successful in this journey?
Right. So we've got our foundation. We've got our, we've looked at the map.
Yeah.
Now, how do we make sure we get from point A to point B?
Right, exactly. And the guide talks about a few things that I thought were really interesting.
Yeah.
One of them is setting realistic goals.
Yes, very important.
We talked about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be fluent in 3 months.
Right. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
It's great to have that ambition.
Yeah.
But you have to be realistic.
Right. So instead of aiming for something that's just like way too far out there,
Yeah.
what can A1 learners do?
So break it down into smaller steps.
Okay.
Think about what you want to be able to do in English. Maybe it's you want to be able to introduce yourself. You want to be able to order food at a restaurant.
Okay.
Ask for directions, those kinds of
It's
things.
that specific.
Very specific. And then break those down even further.
Okay.
So, for example, if you want to be able to order food at a restaurant, maybe your goal for this week is to learn 5 new food words.
Oh.
Or to practice saying, I would like, or can I have?
So like phrases
Phrases, yeah.
that I would actually use.
Exactly. Make it relevant to your goal.
I like that. And then as I achieve those smaller goals,
Yeah.
I can celebrate those little wins.
Absolutely. Celebrate your progress.
Yeah, it keeps you motivated.
It does, because learning a language can be a long process.
Right. It's not going to happen overnight.
No. And it's easy to get discouraged.
Yeah.
So those little wins will help you stay on track.
And speaking of motivation, the guide also talks about creating a learning environment that supports your goals.
Yes. That's very important.
So what does that mean? Like, what does that look like?
Well, it could mean finding a specific place in your home
Okay.
where you like to study.
Okay, like a little study nook.
Exactly. Somewhere quiet where you won't be interrupted.
Okay.
It could also mean setting aside a specific time each day for studying.
Right, so like making it part of my routine.
Yes, exactly. Like brushing your teeth.
I like that.
You wouldn't skip brushing your teeth, so don't skip your English practice.
Make it a habit.
Make it a habit, exactly.
And I also thought it was interesting how they talked about surrounding yourself with English.
Yes, immersion is key.
Immersion. So what does that mean for someone who's not living in an English-speaking country?
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
Well, you can create your own little English bubble.
Okay.
Put up some flashcards with new words around your house. Listen to English music and podcasts.
Okay.
Watch English movies and TV shows.
Even change my phone settings to English.
Yeah, why not? The more you expose yourself to the language, the more it will start to feel natural.
It's like I'm creating my own little England.
Or America or Australia or wherever.
Right.
The English-speaking world is vast.
So there's lots of options.
Lots of options, and it's all about finding what works for you.
Okay, so realistic goals, learning environment, variety. Those are all great tips.
They are. And remember, it's a journey. Be patient with yourself. Enjoy the process.
Right.
Celebrate your successes. And don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
Okay, great advice. I think that's a great place to wrap up our A1 deep dive.
I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the very basics of A1 English to some of the challenges that learners might face.
Yeah.
And most importantly, strategies for success.
That's right.
So for all of you out there who are just starting your English language journey, we hope this has been helpful.
We do.
Remember, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
So take your time, enjoy the process.
Yes.
And most importantly, never give up on your dreams of speaking English fluently.
You got this.
We're here to support you every step of the way.